Welcome to EDU Endpoint Office Hours. Today is June 10th. It is the last session before our summer hiatus, before next school year. So, yeah. Yeah, it is kind of a sad day. Thanks for sticking with us. It's been a good year. I think had a lot going on. But we're really excited about what next year brings too. So, with that, I think we've already killed one fireflies in the meeting, but if there are any other, if you're a The Last of Us fan, whenever you hear fireflies now, it's like a little bit different. Or if you like the old show Firefly, but every time I see fireflies, I think of The Last of Us. So yeah, per our legal department, Copilot's the only AI allowed in the meeting. So if we see it, we're gonna kick it out. Sorry about that.
I'm not sorry, Garrett.
Well, you know, it's just like the proper thing to say because we don't want to be jerks, but it's not really our rules.
Well, that's your rule, not mine.
That's true. You could be the jerk. I don't even have that much to share with you all. It's kind of the slow news couple of weeks. So there's a few things that I wanted to share with you all, but I don't even have the blogs pulled up again. I was not prepared for today, but today is going to be open Q&A, so prep those questions while we go through some of this. And Richard, Chanel, and I are going to be happy to answer anything that we can. So to kind of kick us off, right after we left our session last time, I always want to say last week, but it's a bi-weekly event. So last time, there was a blog that was published for improved role-based access controls in AutoPatch. This has come up with a number of my customers ever since we've made the AutoPatch announcement that it is available for education customers in A3 and A5 tenants. You can now leverage that to your heart's desire, which is fantastic. But the problem was, especially with our higher education customers, that there were no RBAC controls in place for that. So the AutoPatch groups that you put in place didn't have scope tags associated to them. The reporting was a little bit off there, no RBAC control around it. It's not perfect, but this blog highlights that we do have those RBAC controls being released for AutoPatch. It's been a slow rollout. The last couple of customers that I checked with, it was still rolling out. So check your tenants, but you should now have those RBAC controls. The second one is important. It's a blog that's posted by the Intune customer success support team, which is a fun group. But there are new requirements for the MIME Baseline Certificates. So there's actually a large organization out there, I forget the name of it right off the top of my head, that has made a new policy requirement that all vendors must comply with this new regulation. And so I think it's inside the common name, you have to have the surname or the given name included in the certificate, and those properties weren't necessarily required prior to this. So in those certificates, you're going to have those changes. I'm sure you've heard this from other vendors, but Intune is updating their certificate profiles to support these new requirements. In fact, Microsoft sits on the advisory board for this large organization that makes these changes and dictates these regulations. And so we've known about it. So the Intune team has been working on it, and they should be ready to deliver that by the end of the month, is I think what the blog post says. So just know that if you're using SMIME certificates in Intune today, if you're deploying that out through the Intune console, both to your managed devices or unmanaged devices, that you will need to update those certificates and get those read. So that's a take action. So note that. Go read the blog post. It's super important. The third one was actually just interesting that I thought you all would appreciate. There is some device control mechanisms inside of Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. And there was a blog post that was written specifically for the device controls for Mac OS inside of Defender for Endpoint, and how you can leverage those and where those kind of come into play within Intune with device compliance and configuration management there. So that's a really good blog if you haven't used device control inside of MDE. If you want to learn about it, it's got some great screenshots and walk you through some scenarios on how you could leverage it within your environment. So it's more security related, but it really falls into that kind of cross path of endpoint management and security. So that was an interesting blog to read. And then the last one that I wanted to make you guys aware of is that there are new policy enhancement tools in intra-conditional access. So again, not something specific to endpoint management, but kind of that side angle that we always have to keep in our periffs of when we think about endpoint management and the end user experience there. So conditional access has some updated APIs and being able to do some automation around testing your conditional access policies. So it's like a what if on steroids, but you can build out your policies and you can test those programmatically through the Graph API. So if you want to build those out and test them at scale, if you want to see what your end users are going to see, they've really improved that API. And then there's some additional reporting capabilities. Now, I think it's reporting by policy so that you have a more in-depth look at the policies themselves and understanding where it's being applied in your environment, what's not being applied, etc. So I think that's some better visibility in your environment that we kind of lacked a little bit. So just a call out there. Again, I know a couple of you out there, you're also responsible for conditional access. So hopefully you'll find that valuable. That's about it. Like I said, kind of slow, just coming off of builds, not as much going on. There's some kind of restructuring in Microsoft ongoing right now, so not too much out there. Summer's winding up, so I think it actually works out. This is a natural way to kind of end these sessions for the summer, unless you all focus on your summer deployments and all the work that you've got going on this summer. So with that, it's really up to y'all. We don't have a presentation day. It's open Q&A. So I haven't been looking at the chat, Richard. I don't know if there's anything.
No,
that
we're
we need
all
to
we're all
answer.
just trying to help Tom find AutoPatch, but it looks like he found it. So we're all
Okay. Oh, Tom.
it's
Cool.
kind of tough to find. It's kind of buried in a place you would expect it to be like under Windows Update, and it's not there.
Correct. That's where I started, and I was like,
Yeah.
I hadn't looked recently. I thought, well, I need to look again.
There are so many things in Intune where you think it's in one place and it's in somewhere else, or there's like 3 or 4 different places that you can set something like Defender, antivirus, and various other things. So it's very common. No, the only thing I wanted to add is it is Patch Tuesday, and so for the update preview from last month, the D release, if you will, the fourth week of the month, we call those our D releases. These are the preview releases of the new features that are coming. I want to call this out only because it's kind of a bigger update. If you guys remember last year or the year before, we were doing these things called moments. We don't really have that terminology anymore. So I don't know if we actually are really calling this thing a moment or not, but
it kind of came and went, didn't it?
Yeah, it was like for 1 year, like we called these things moments, and then now it's like, I don't know, call them whatever.
I think I remember talking about that on this call.
Yeah, and I thought, okay, well, we're just going to keep doing moments for a while until the next release comes, and then we'll just do moments in between. But I don't know what we're calling them now. But I want to call out last week's or 2 weeks ago, I guess, the preview update that came out, because the way that our updates work is that every 4th Tuesday we will have a D release, which has the preview for all of the features and updates and functionality that's changing. It's not security updates; it's just new functionality within Windows that we add, or bug fixes and stuff like that. Those end up rolling into the following month's security release. So you get the preview update of all the changes that are going to happen, but then Patch Tuesday comes, and then we take the security updates and combine that with the D release from the prior month. And I call this out just because that the release has a lot of stuff in it. It's more than normal A lot of it has to do with AI for Copilot Plus PCs around click to do, the Copilot key. But there are some other things in there as well. I don't have anything specific from like a device management perspective to tell you like, hey, you got to turn something off, you got to control something with a policy or anything. But just know that there's a bit more to this month that if people are seeing new things or if there's just some weird behavior, weird stuff. I haven't heard anything. I've been looking on social media. I haven't seen any common threads or anything this morning. But it's only been 3 hours. 10 a.m. when the patch is out, so it's been only 3 hours. So, but if you guys see anything, just let us know. But for the most part, as far as I know, everything's going well. I didn't hear anything from the preview, any customer installed preview from the 28th. So, as far as I know, everything should be okay. But we'll see. All right, what do we got in the chat?
This one's a good one. It's kind of long. I don't know, Matt Pierce, do you want to come off mute and ask your question, or do you want me to read it?
I can come off mute. Wasn't really meant for the Microsoft team per se. I was just looking for the possibility of getting in touch with some colleagues out there in the education land that might be set up to do Microsoft Teams in their environment using specifically Yealink phones. We're relatively new to doing Teams phones over the last, I guess, couple of years now. And then Microsoft and Android or Google did the thing with moving from ADA to AOSP, and we saw the notices. I don't necessarily manage our Teams environment, but I quasi-manage it, if you want to call it that, because we are such a small organization. And so I watched as the alerts came out, watched for the May 15th and then the June 2nd rollout, and went ahead and followed the instructions, did what Microsoft Learn's site said for creating stuff. And so we're sitting back watching some of this stuff take place, and it's good. Some of it's automatically doing it. I'm like, fantastic, it's working the way it's supposed to, right? And then others are just sitting here, and I'm wondering, okay, well, why haven't they gone through and done the name change based off of what I added when I had to create the new enrollment profile for the AOSP setup? And then some of them, well, when they move from ADA to AOSP and it said it's going to auto update, if you don't do anything, it'll just do it. So I watched as the names that we currently had set, because it wasn't set to anything. It was just whatever the default, I guess, is that comes with Teams, right? And so I noticed that AOSP was added into the name of each of these devices as I look at them inside of Intune. After I went through the article that was provided by Microsoft and I created the new AOSP enrollment profile, I started this, and part of that, I went ahead and added our naming scheme, right? Because we do that with autopilot for our Windows PCs, and so I wanted to set something up for our Teams devices. So I've noticed probably about 10 or so of our devices have done the name change. I'm assuming that was automatic because I personally didn't do anything other than create that enrollment profile. So my assumption was, based off of the devices checking in at some point, they went ahead and did something via the enrollment profile. Now, again, I am very green with this. It's a lot different than setting up autopilot for a Windows device, and the Windows device does what you expect it's going to do, right, with all the naming and all that as you go through it. But then we have some of these other ones that did the auto naming with putting of the AOSP inside whatever their name was before, but they haven't adopted or changed to the naming scheme that I put inside the AOSP enrollment. So some of these things, again, it's just not something I've dealt with before. So I was looking to reach out to see if anybody out there in the Endpoint Office Hours endpoint land wanted to reach out and maybe become a contact with me and my group. And we can collaborate. Maybe I can learn from somebody else who's already been working on this stuff. That way I can make sure our environment is set right, it's working right, and it's a well-oiled machine kind of thing.
Great question. Anyone managing Teams phone, probably Teams devices specifically on Android, using the new AOSP method? I I know I helped the customer learn a little bit about it. I don't have direct experience with it. I'm gonna throw the link in the chat that I provided. Then if you haven't seen this yet, making sure that the user that's actually doing the enrollment has the Intune license. That was their gotcha. But I don't have specifics on the enrollment profile on the devices. Anyone else out there though doing this? If not, Matt, send me an email and I'll connect you to a couple of my colleagues who can probably get you connected with the customer that is. And I'll throw my email in the chat.
All right, cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, as big as the Texas A&M University system is, with all the different universities that fall under umbrella, and reaching out to each of them, even they aren't in the same kind of boat doing this stuff. Most of them are still using like Cisco phones for VoIP and that kind of thing. So we're kind of at the forefront just of our own systems institution. So that's why I kind of wanted to reach out in the breadth of the education community and just kind of see what others might be doing.
Yeah, it's a great call out. I'm glad you did. So yeah, it doesn't seem like anyone else has direct experience with it. So hit me up on email and I'll see if I can get you connected with another customer that's doing it. That's not on this call. Cool. All right. Let's see. We're having a moment right now. My question is it normal to be able to interact out of the UBI when you have more than one monitor connected? I believe so, but it's been a while since I've even tested that. Richard, do you know?
I can't even remember the last time I've actually went through UBI with multiple monitors.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
Most of the time it's single monitor. But
So he's saying, yeah, Ubi's running under the default user 0 account.
When you say interact out of the UBI, what do you mean? Like, are you messing around on the desktop, or
you hit command prompt over here?
Yeah, but you could.
Yeah, really. That was it. Like, so if I'm somebody that needs to step away while my device is getting configured, downloading the user and device policy settings, and like, oh, hey, I'm just going to plug it into the stock that's connected to a monitor, and then, oh, look, it's already got all these applications that have been pre-provisioned and downloaded and installed, and I'm just going to open up Edge and start or open up command prompt and do whatever I want. And before this device finishes installing and takes me to the user sign-in screen, I was just wondering if there's a way to just, I guess, disable that. That might be asking a little much to disable secondary monitors during out-of-box experience.
I'm not sure that that's common. I mean, I haven't provisioned anything with 2 monitors forever, so I don't know the papers, but my expectation would be that you'd have a blank monitor on the other side. Like you'd probably just have whatever the desktop default color scheme is on the second monitor, and the first monitor should just have the ESP going if you're using autopilot.
Kind of like your lock screen when you have multiple monitors.
Yeah, like I don't know.
Test it. Let us know.
Yeah.
I do know it is extended by default because we have this problem on our classroom computers where at the login screen, the screen's just black. It doesn't display anything at the login screen. Once you log in, then you'll see the taskbar and all that. And so we added a login script that forces a clone on the display when someone logs out. So I imagine enrollment is a similar process.
Yeah, but you're not interacting with like the desktop. Like while the ESP is running for autopilot, you're not interacting with the like your desktop and clicking on the start menu and opening up apps and all that stuff like that.
No, yeah, it's
That
it's
shouldn't
pre-login is what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, that shouldn't bleed in through Movie. If it is, that'd be a big problem.
Well, like, so I put a picture in the chat of an example. It's actually before the ESP starts, but the device has already been pre-provisioned, because you can see that on the secondary monitor, there's already programs installed.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
So you see this after going through pre-provisioning, but what if you didn't go through pre-provisioning? If it was just out of the box, just turn it on, or if you just threw an ISO on it, installed Windows, would you see the same thing?
That'd be a good question. I've not touched that.
Because I would try testing that out and see if you see the same behavior, because this could be a pre-provisioning like quirk or something where somehow we're bleeding into the desktop when we shouldn't be. Because my expectation would be that we would your desktop on the right should not have, you shouldn't be able to access it at all. It should just be whatever the default color scheme is. And then you would just, on your main monitor 1, you should see the normal UBI experience. And then once that's done, then we, get to the desktop or whatever, you sign in, get to the desktop, and you're able to use the OS. So I would not expect the behavior seen there. So this could be a pre-provisioning problem that we're just not aware of.
Is it 24H2 or is it a specific build?
This is 23H2.
Okay.
I'd also try it on 24H2 and see if it's the same.
Honestly,
yeah, I'll definitely do some testing.
I'd kind of expect it to be on 24H2. Not necessarily expected, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's on 24H2, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, we try to do that N-1.
Yeah, I'd expect most would be going to 24H2 this summer.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, let's see. I'm assuming this is Eileen. I'm new to Intune and filling in for our main Windows person. Bless you. We are looking to implement feature upgrades to get Windows 10 devices to upgrade to Windows 11. We've hit resistance from some of our departments because of potential hardware and software issues. Okay, I saw safeguards and was wondering how reliable they are and what is the criteria.
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, we were trying to push out these upgrades because it is a slow process to get people to do it on their own. And what we're finding is that out of the 15,000 devices that we have, there's probably about 2,000 of them that are running with like medical equipment, electronic microscopes, all that kind of stuff. And we see the readiness report and we've categorized them, but I'm wondering, we're concerned and they're concerned about when we push these Windows upgrades. WOS 26, yeah, I like that. I was an ex-Apple person. What will the impact be of pushing those upgrades? And I understand that the readiness report does it with low risk, but how do we go about determining, and will the safeguards help us to protect these devices?
And I'm going to hop onto that. I work with Eileen.
Oh yeah, thank you. Hi, Leonard.
Hi. So one really basic question, and it's ridiculous perhaps, but the readiness status, if we could treat those with a readiness status of low risk, medium risk, high risk, or replace, and omit those from our feature upgrade targets scope, that would be wonderful. And that's a way of asking is has anyone contemplated that, done something similar, or what are you doing with your readiness status in the low, medium, high, and replace category? Are you using that data right now to calculate how many ESUs you're going to require? And if I can, I'm just going to add one more thing on. One of the things that we're concerned about and that our customers are concerned about, and that's something that Eileen was just mentioning, is in those readiness status areas of high risk where a driver or an application will be removed, we think removed. Is that our understanding of, I just haven't seen it gone through the process yet. Does the application get quarantined? Does the driver get quarantined? Or in both cases, are they just completely wiped? So my apologies for adding on to a question and making it very long, but that's a general topic.
So before either of us say anything, does anyone have anything to share on this topic?
Everybody's upgraded already.
Speechless. And that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to get as many people up to Windows 11 as we can, obviously. But we don't want to risk. And I'm pretty sure we can implement the feature upgrades and block off the medium and high risk devices. But will the safeguards automatically protect it? Because it kind of looks like it might.
When you say safeguard, you're talking about safeguard holds?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Safeguard holds.
Yeah. So safeguard holds it actually prevents the device from being offered the upgrade. So
okay.
If a safeguard hold is applied to a machine due to either an application or a driver or something that we're aware of, then those machines won't be offered the upgrade until those safeguard holds are removed. And so usually that's going to mean the application has been updated, or it could also mean that you have to actually upgrade the application, or you have to install the driver. You have to do something to get that safeguard hold.
And I actually just found this article on the Microsoft site about these about 45 minutes ago. So, but what is the criteria for something being put in a safeguard hold?
Well, so that's something that we determine the safeguard hold. You don't determine that.
I know. Does. That's a good thing.
Yeah. So
and is this back to my question? So this means if it's in category 1, 2, or 3, low, medium, high risk, or even replace device, don't offer the upgrade. That's what a safeguard defines?
Yeah, if the device falls within a safeguard hold, then yes, it will not be offered the Windows upgrade until that safeguard hold has been taken care of. Oftentimes it mostly has to do with something that like there might be an application that we know that's just not compatible, and there might be nothing you can do about that until the vendor does something about it. So you might have a bunch of devices in your organization that have upgraded to Windows 11 24H2, but you have a bunch of other ones that have been stuck on like 22H2 for months. And that has nothing to do with anything you can control if there's an application on the machine that you can't update. Now, if
that's
you can't
actually
update,
what we want.
Right.
we want something to say, don't upgrade this computer.
So you want that, but because you can control the feature updates on who they're targeted to.
Right.
So, you can target the appropriate groups. So are you saying that these machines that we're talking about are currently under a safeguard hold, or do you want them to be?
We want to, well, we don't know if they are.
Okay.
We don't know if they are.
We see them as readiness status in low, medium, replace, or high risk. Mm-hmm. Does that equal safe? Does that define that they're under any of those specific safeguard holds?
No.
Does that equal safeguard hold?
Yeah. What I would do, have you guys set up Windows Update for Business reports?
Yes, we have update rings.
Yeah. Well, update rings, but how about the reports? So there's Windows Update for Business reports, which is separate from the Intune reporting.
Okay. We might.
You actually access it from the M365 Admin Center, not through Intune.
Yeah. So this is completely separate outside of Intune.
Okay.
You might have to get a global administrator to help you out, get that set up.
Yeah. So I know a lot of folks on the call have already set this up. Most people don't know about it unless they've been told about it, because we don't really advertise it as well as we probably should within Intune to say, hey, go set this up.
Okay.
When you do set that up, what it does is it collects a lot of additional information about the Windows Update status of all of your machines. In there, it'll also tell you about safeguard holds and various other things.
Okay.
I'd highly recommend setting that up. And then with the data that you get there, we'll give you some basic dashboards and stuff that are useful. But you can also create your own custom reporting about your Windows Update status within Windows Update for Business reports. You have access to creating KQL queries, which I know the community has, not this community specifically, but the broader Intune Microsoft community out there have created a number of custom reports or custom KQL queries to interrogate that data, whether it's feature updates or just quality updates and things like that. So if you're having issues with machines scanning, if you're having issues with machines downloading and all that kind of stuff, the Windows Update for Business reports data can provide you some more granular information outside of just the stock data that you see from either Intune or even just the stock reports that you get out of Windows Update for Business reporting.
Okay.
You can go deeper with your own custom reports. So that might be something to look into.
Yeah, that is something to look into, but I'm not sure how fast we're going to get that done. So I guess what we're looking at probably, and I'm leaning towards, what you guys would recommend is just targeting the low risk devices for this push.
I mean, if you take Intune out of the equation, right? Like, historically, what most people would do in these kinds of scenarios is that, like, you've got your VIP machines, like the high, like I'll say high risk. They're not necessarily high risk from like an Intune or an upgrade perspective.
Right.
It's more of a high risk from a business perspective.
Right.
Right. So we know we have those machines. And so for those, we probably should take care of them maybe a different way. Like maybe Intune isn't the way that we upgrade these. Maybe we have to have someone has to touch these machines. That may or may not be possible depending on the number and the amount of people you have to do this. But maybe you test a couple of them, say, okay, we've done the in-place upgrade and we found that it worked. The hardware, the drivers, the software, all that stuff seems to be working fine. And then maybe you can use Intune to do the rest of them. That might be an option. I don't. And you may be doing that right now.
We are.
Okay.
We are.
So that might be the way to continue through it. I don't know if that helps, but.
Yeah, it's just the number of devices versus the number of people that we have that can get out to them and do this is difficult. So.
Yeah, it's tough.
The ratio is hard. Yeah, I was just kind of hoping that maybe somebody here, especially in the EDU environment, has kind of gone through this before. We tried to get a jump on this because we remember how painful this was when Windows 7 went into support. But most of the people that are involved with this now weren't even here when Windows 7 went away. So there's no precedent.
Right, exactly. And I know, Leonard, you were asking a bit about ESUs, right? And I think, is that kind of where this is coming from? Is
it's all related, and so let me just make sure that we can definitively determine which devices are under a safeguard hold in that M365 Windows Update for Business reporting area. That's where we're going to determine whether or not. It's not enough for me just to know that these have a readiness status of high risk. Right. It needs to have a safeguard hold. So, and I'll only be able to determine that in the Windows Update for Business Microsoft 365 reports area.
Yeah. So you'll do it that way, but it's not just the safeguard holds though either. You also have, there's devices that just can't upgrade to Windows 11, right? So you have the TPM. Right.
Yep, that we've got that nailed down, and we could push those updates as much as we want. They're not going to get them.
Right. But for those, that's where you have to make the determination: do we buy ESUs or do we do something else? And so have you guys are already accounted for what you're going to do for those machines?
We've got more of a handle on that, I think, than we thought we did until we ran when we ran into this issue with the medium and high risk and low risk devices.
Okay.
We've lost I think we kind of lost a little bit of confidence now on this.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you for all of this.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it all.
Yeah,
No
and
problem.
if anyone comes up with anything, other tidbits, given the scenario that we're kicking around, feel free to reach out. And thank you.
Please, we could use your voices of experience.
Yeah,
And
I
we
just
threw
dropped.
a few links. I think Scott's going to say
Yeah.
that. Go
Yep.
ahead.
Yeah,
Yep.
I was definitely going to say that. I wanted to beat you to it again, Garrett. Uh, no, but getting that information into the Windows Update for Business reports is not that difficult. It's just there's a MDM profile that you can configure in Intune. If you look at that last one I dropped in the chat there,
Yep.
there's different methods. You can use a script, but usually within 24, 48 hours, that machine information will start showing up. And then from there, so don't think it's a big uplift to get that information in there. It's just configuring that configuration profile or whatever information you need. So.
Okay.
And don't be fooled, because you do have to have a log analytics workspace in Azure, but there's no cost associated with that. So even though you have to spin that up, it is free.
Cool. Thank you. I've got the link open now.
Yeah, and just also know that it will take some time for the data to come in. It's not going to be instantaneous. So if you're going to stand it up like tomorrow, it's probably going to be about a week or two before you start seeing the majority of machines show up.
Okay.
So,
Which means don't wait.
Yeah, don't plan this for like a month from now and then think it's all going to be there in a couple of days. And it takes some time.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, I'm going to move on to Jonathan's question because it's a good one. Has there been any progress made on catching up the Intune Admin Center RBAC for app assignment with that of the Intune for Education portal? And then goes into kind of some of the scenarios where that would be beneficial. Who wants to take that one?
I don't even know what we're talking about here. So
okay, so our techs have to switch between the two constantly, mostly because app assignment using scope tags with Intune, big Intune, I call it big Intune, seems to have broken sometime last summer whenever another group has the app assigned, which is not in the current admin's user scope. Works fine with the education portal, but assignment details are more granular with big Intune, and it's happened more than once where people have accidentally uninstalled them from all of their department's computers due to I4E app assignment behavior.
I mean, I think you should answer this one because this sounds a lot like what our shared customer that we were dealing with a while back was dealing with. Kind of similar sort.
I know, I'm trying to get my thoughts straight around it. So Michael has his hand up. Are you trying to respond to this question, Michael?
Yeah, so does this have
it.
to do with RBAC issues where what we've experienced is that we live in excuse me, trying to get my thoughts centered here.
Yep.
I work in
It's
a
a
highly
weird problem.
decentralized IT university, and with Intune's RBAC, the way that the scope group assignments for the role assignment work is that you can lock a subdepartment into only deploying policy to particular groups that you've listed, but if they have the permission in Intra to modify group membership, then they can take another department's group and add it to their group, and then any policy they have assigned to their group with the other department's group nested is applicable to those devices. Is that the situation that we're talking about here?
Oh, I mean, it might be related somewhat. From what we've been experiencing on our end is that if we're utilizing scope groups and then or scope tags and then scope groups having groups associated with the scope tags and the role assignments, if someone in a scoped role goes to assign a group to an app in the admin center, No one else can go do that unless they're an Intune administrator, because the scope tags conflict for some reason, and it says you can't do anything with it if you're scoped.
They wouldn't have to have access to the scope tag in their role assignment to be able to do the policy assignment or the application assignment to the group. That's kind of what it sounds like.
Well, it's actually, yeah, it gets us, it's associated with the scope tag that the group that received the app assignment is associated with, if that makes sense. Like, it's really weird.
Yeah,
but if you do the education side, it works just fine. It's just
education.
So I had another customer report this, and I actually kind of dug into it with them. And it is something on our side, I think, that we're trying to work through. But essentially, when you need to stick with one or the other when you're doing it, but when it's cross console, if you will, between the education portal and Big Intune, somehow the wires are getting crossed. And I replicated this by going to into the Intune for Education portal, taking an application, assigning it, going to a group, assigning an application to that group, and then I see it reflected in Big Intune. I can, but I can't remove that assignment, I believe, from Big Intune. I have to go back into Intune for Education. I might be mixing this up a little bit, but generally, I think what you're asking, I've seen this, and the pretty much what we said as for right now, stick with one console or the other, even though Big Intune is going to give you more visibility in the reporting between the two. There's something going on in private preview right now, and I think a couple of our customers here are actually in that private preview that's supposed to be rolling out in June with scope tags and scope groups and what we call unionization of those. And it's where if you're an admin and you have a scoped role in particular with delegated administrations as an Intune admin, when you have multiple scope tags assigned to that role, you're still going to have least restricted access to those. And I think that unionization of the scope tags is actually what's playing a part into this experience with Intune for Education. All of that to say is my hope, because I was able to reproduce it in my own tenant, my hope is that once this fix rolls out in private preview in June, and I can validate that will be resolved for a broader rollout or a broader fix later this year. But I did run into this too. I don't know if anyone's got it.
Well, yeah, that'd be awesome, because it kind of has kind of a snag with our initial Intune rollout. But people are kind of used to it at this point. But so are you saying that it's caused by hopping between the two portals? Because it looks like the two portals make different API calls, one on the group level and the other one like reversed.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, and it has something to do with the scope tags, because the scope tags are still shared across.
Yeah, because I mean, most of the things, like all the data is the same. It's just how it's presented in a few different API calls.
Yes. Again, hoping. we brought it up. We brought it up with the product team. So we're investigating, yeah. But feel free to hit me up offline. I've already thrown my email in the chat, and I can see if this is the exact same issue that we ran into with my other customer. And if we can get some additional feedback to provide to the engineering team, I'd love to gather that from you.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Yep.
And just another thing there is just to make sure that the groups are in the scope tag included groups assignment. Because then that does cause a problem as well, where you have to manually add the groups in the scope tag to be able to add a given item, like to add a group to a given item. Like you can't use that group at all unless that group is in your scope tag.
That's right. That's right.
And nesting works as well.
Which is awesome, by the way. I love that Intune does nesting.
Wait, Big Intune or Intune for Education?
Both of them, but the Intune for Education group presentation is actually really cool with the way that it visualizes the nesting.
You were referring to. Yeah.
I love that so much. Like there's a couple things I would tweak with it, but it's especially with some of our techs that are a little less technically inclined or less familiar, it really helps them kind of understand what's going on the back end. So
yeah, yep, cool. Let's see. Aaron's question, but maybe Richard just got to it.
Yeah.
Is there an easy way of capturing an FFU to install and capture language packs? I tried, but once this prep was finishing up, it would throw errors because the packs were not be installed for all users.
Yeah, I personally haven't done anything with language packs specifically.
Slack or just
the only thing I've added was the ability to automatically download the different versions or the different languages. But in terms of different language packs, I haven't done anything with that.
Okay. Isaac's question, any resources that explain scope tags a bit more and how to use them? Unsure of how to use them, so just have default. I think Zahedai, am I saying your name correctly? Zahedai? Threw a link in the chat for scope tags. It's actually a really good document, so I would start there. There's also some really good YouTube videos out there that explain it pretty good, but essentially used for decentralized or distributed IT teams where you can delegate groups and then have tags, and those tags will be associated to the object, any Intune objects. And as long as your user has permissions to that tag, you can see that object. That's the premise of it. It doesn't quite work like that in practice, as we all know and are aware, but we're getting there. It. What are the differences between Intune and Intune for Education? We are A135 licensed. Yeah, Zadai. See, I'm gonna mispronounce your name. You need to I need to ask Copilot. How do you say it?
It's Zahadi.
Zahadi. Thank you. I won't mess that up again. Yeah, he's right. So 2 different portals. You can get to the Intune for Education portal. All education tenants. In fact, I think most tenants have access to the Intune Education portal.
Every tenant can get there.
Yeah, I thought
whether
so.
You're whether you're on eSKU, ASKU.
Is that true for Gov though?
ESKU, FSKU.
Yeah. So just type in intuneeducation.portal.azure.com because we made that super friendly for you to access. We haven't updated it with like the new Intune.Microsoft. We should really have it like intuneedu.microsoft.com. But there are some subtle differences, like, well, not so subtle, I should say. It's a simplified portal now. It's pretty obvious now, but it's lacking some features and functions that Big Intune has, and it's really meant for simplified administration of your devices and apps. So you can assign apps, you can assign a subset of configuration profiles in like a nicer, prettier manner. It's really simplified to help. We used to use a moniker of Bob the bus driver. Bob the bus driver could manage a laptop or a cart of laptop devices, right? One of those individuals who has multiple hats in the school district, doesn't really have IT skills, but is still responsible for doing that. That's really the persona that portal was designed for. Some really good capabilities and features, like it has a nice barcode scanner. That's a differentiator from Big Intune. We don't have the feature of a barcode scanner inside of Big Intune. But it also hasn't been fully loved with in a long time. So there's not a ton of new features. We've done the bare minimum, I would say, there. But they have really good reports too, specifically for education. Like there's a really good last check-in time report where you can actually see who the last logged on user was. That's really common for activities in education, specifically in K-12, understanding when was the last time a lab device was used or a shared device was used, who was on it when something occurred. That's a really nice report that doesn't exist in Big Intune. So, a couple of neat things up there.
Scott, did you mean auto patch?
Yes, I did. I meant auto patch. I don't know why I was getting autopilot patch. I was like, wait a second.
I
what did
saw
I do?
that.
I
I
was
was
like,
just started laughing.
Who isn't using
I
autopilot?
it was funny. It was funny. I meant auto patch.
There's
I actually had a
new
call
thing
on it
called
this morning.
autopilot. Just came
No,
out.
most people y'all have done autopilot.
Autopilot just came
This
That's like old
number
news
should be at 100%, guys. We fought for y'all to get auto patch. Y'all
I wanted to-
screamed and yelled at us and whined about it. Y'all, this should be at 100% right now.
What's autopilot? Autopilot.
I have 38. Wait, 30. I bet everybody's going back and changing their number. Yeah.
Yeah, they should be to yes.
Garrett's ever tried to make everyone guilty.
They should feel guilty.
We had 33 responses. I mean, we've already had half. 61%. There we go. 43.
I'm just kidding, guys. I love y'all, but come on. This summer, this is your job. Deploy auto patch.
Well, 2/3 were excited for in the last poll.
Yeah.
I can be the data guy for our call. The last poll was who was
Okay,
excited
so
for
then
Windows
if this
Auto
is the
Patch.
last session of Endpoint Office Hours, then at the first session next summer or next September, whenever we start that up, I expect this to be much larger. You have the entire summer. This is your assignment.
Okay.
Don't let me down.
So out of 38 responses, and not everybody responded, so let's.
That's because they
there's
all
66.
have it, and Garrett's making.
There's 66 people on this call. Yes, Garrett made it. Garrett's not going to know. I don't know who responds to the call. I don't share that with Garrett anyway, nor would I. Because you do not need calls from Garrett in the middle of the night. So I have
yeah,
41.
it's like summer
Let's get
reading.
it above 50.
I'm gonna give you auto patch docs for your summer reading assignment.
Just come on.
Put your change requests in right now, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
And don't give me, oh, I didn't have scope tags yet. No. You can still
Well, it
do
looks
it.
like there was a question in there about some RBAC controls, and you can add that to a custom policy, and that was I put that article. That was one of the changes with auto patch, or what's new in auto patch in May, was that they actually have an RBAC policy or article. If you scroll up the chat, it's there, and about how you can implement auto patch. I showed it to a customer today, and I think they really liked it. They were looking to moving from a third-party patching platform, and so I just started with all the manual stuff, and then when they saw an auto patch, that all they had to do was just run the wizard, and it gave them a lot of options. So it really simplifies the process, in my opinion. I'm just glad that all the features are there, and Garrett next year, he just doesn't know it yet. He is going to be our auto patch SME. So.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
As your SME, that means I'm like the principal.
Yeah, you're obviously very passionate about
done,
this.
guys.
So. All right, we're at 46, so we're above no, we're at 43 responses, so it's 42-58. So that's a little bit better. All right.
No guilt tripping whatsoever. All right. We only have 4 minutes left of this session. Anything else before we sign off for the summer?
Oh, I'll do one more poll.
We're gonna see Scott at the pool.
Got to do another poll. It's gonna be.
When are we back? I don't know. We've always tried to get it done kind of middle of August or the beginning of September. So I would anticipate somewhere between August 19th and September 2nd.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna guess.
Sounds about right.
We got your emails. So be on the lookout for an email with the new invite We'll post in the LinkedIn group, we'll post on the Teams channel, we'll post on all of that so that you are acutely aware. This meeting series will end, but I think chat will still persist. So we'll also post in the chat. Yes, 100% still use the EDU Endpoint Office Hours email distribution throughout the summer. If questions arise, this is, I know, when y'all are the busiest, so we are here to support. We just won't have any content to prepare for you, mostly because Microsoft has a lot of changes in the summer, and that may be with our teams, it may be with product. It's just a lot of change. And so we always need to be prepared for that. There's also a lot of internal training and events we have to do. So it's really hard to keep up with stuff on top of just general customer work. So feel free to use that distribution list. Again, the Teams channel's there, the LinkedIn group is there. So you should just watch reruns of these episodes from this year if you miss us, just to listen to our voices if you want. It's not weird. It's just nice.
Also, they now have your email address. So they could just send mail to that.
Or the broader group. Either one. Okay, but for real. For real, thanks for a great year. We definitely appreciate you guys. Appreciate y'all spending your afternoons on Tuesdays with us. Hopefully we'll have some good things planned over the summer so that we can start the year off with a bang. I am kind of sort of serious about AutoPatch. If you haven't tested it, start testing it now. It should be an easy uplift if you're already using Windows Update for Business, and you should see instant value. So start taking advantage of that. And Scott, Richard, anything else?
Nope.
Enjoy your summer.
I appreciate everybody. Just appreciate everybody attending this year, and hope you got a lot out of these sessions. They're a lot of fun for us.
Yep. We enjoy everyone joining and sharing and helping out, and we'll definitely look forward to continuing that as next school year starts. So thanks a lot, everyone. Take care.
Awesome. All right. Have a great summer. Bye.